So much of modern medicine is about managing symptoms, right? It's about coping with conditions. But today, we're going to dive into a study that's looking way beyond just coping. We're talking about a potential cure for a really common complication of diabetes. So, let's get into what that really means.
And that's really the big question here. Forget about temporary fixes for a second. What if we could actually go in and repair the physical damage that causes the problem in the first place? It's a huge shift in thinking, moving away from just putting a Band-Aid on the issue to a true biological repair job.
And make no mistake, this is not some small niche problem. We're talking about up to half of all men with diabetes experiencing erectile dysfunction. I mean, that is a staggering number. It shows you just how big of a medical need there is for something better than what we currently have.
Okay, so to really appreciate why this new approach is so darn exciting, we first need to take a quick look at the current situation. Why do the solutions we have today, well, why do they only go so far?
The thing about the most common medications, you've probably heard of PDE5 inhibitors, is that while they can absolutely help, they're basically a short-term boost. They're designed to work on the symptoms. What they don't do, and what they can't do, is reverse the actual physical damage that diabetes causes to the body's tissues over the long haul.
So what is that damage exactly? Well, diabetes is a systemic disease, and in this specific case, it kind of attacks on four main fronts. It breaks down the delicate nerves that are needed for signaling. It damages blood vessels, the body's essential plumbing. It harms the smooth muscle that's absolutely critical for function. And on top of all that, it speeds up cellular aging, basically wearing out the tissues way too fast. Any real cure would have to tackle all four of these.
So if that's the mountain of a problem, what's the solution? Well, this is where regenerative medicine walks onto the stage. Instead of just managing all that damage, scientists are asking a different question. What if we could send in a microscopic repair crew to actually rebuild what's been broken?
And here they are. This is our repair crew, amniotic fluid stem cells, or AFSCs for short. These are incredibly powerful and versatile cells that come from the fluid that protects a developing fetus. What makes them so special is their amazing potential. They can turn into all sorts of different tissues, nerves, muscle, you name it.
So you might be wondering, okay, but why these stem cells? Well, compared to other sources like maybe bone marrow, AFSCs have some huge advantages. They're way easier to get, they're super versatile, and, this is a big one, they have a very low risk of causing tumors. That makes them pretty much an ideal candidate for this kind of therapy.
All right, so you've got your promising candidate. You've got your microscopic repair crew all lined up. What's next? Well, you've got to put them to the test. So how do you design an experiment to see if these cells can actually live up to all that promise? The researchers came up with a really clean, powerful design. They set up 3 groups of rats. You have your healthy control group, a group with diabetes that's left untreated, and then the third group, diabetic rats who got a single injection of 1 million of these stem cells. Then they just waited 5 weeks to see what happened. And this table here just lays it all out for us perfectly. You've got your baseline, the healthy rats, you've got the problem, the untreated diabetic rats, and then you have your proposed solution, the diabetic rats treated with stem cells. This setup lets you see a direct, crystal-clear comparison of the results.
And folks, this is where it gets really exciting. After those 5 weeks, the scientists crunched the numbers and looked at the tissues. So, the big question, did that microscopic repair crew actually do its job?
The answer was a massive yes. I mean, just look at this chart. This is a direct measurement of erectile function. On the left, you have the healthy rats. In the middle, the untreated diabetic rats, a huge drop in function, just as you'd expect. But look over on the right. The group that got the AFSC treatment shows a major, statistically significant recovery. They weren't quite back to 100%, but wow, what a dramatic improvement.
The study's own conclusion really says it all. This wasn't some tiny effect. The therapy worked on 2 levels. It brought back function, and just as importantly, it reduced the actual physical damage to the tissue. But how? Well, let's look at the evidence. Remember our damage checklist from before? First on that list was nerve damage. What you're looking at here is nerve tissue. You can clearly see the degradation in the diabetic sample. But look at the AFSC treated sample. It shows a remarkable restoration. The body's wiring was literally being repaired. Okay, next up, blood vessels. These images are showing us the health of the blood vessel lining. And again, it's the same story. You can see the damage in the diabetic group and a visible, significant recovery in the treated group. The plumbing was being fixed.
The third item on our list was smooth muscle. And once again, the visual evidence here is just undeniable. The diabetic rats had much less smooth muscle, but the group that got that stem cell injection, they saw that muscle integrity rebuilt, getting much closer to normal levels.
And finally, what about that accelerated aging problem? This slide shows a marker for what's called cellular senescence. It's basically a sign of aging and stress in cells. The diabetic tissue is full of it. But in the treated tissue, that marker is way, way down. In a sense, the stem cells were helping to turn back the cellular clock.
So let's just recap. The treatment fixed all 4 major types of damage. It's an incredible result in an animal study. But the big question remains, what does this actually mean for people? Where do we possibly go from here?
What this all boils down to is a seriously powerful proof of concept. It shows that this type of regenerative therapy can do something that current treatments just can't. It can actually reverse the physical damage, which points us toward a potential genuine cure.
Now, of course, we've got to be realistic here. This is one study, and it was in rats. The road to this becoming a treatment for humans is a long one. As you can see, researchers still have to confirm it's safe in the long term, figure out the perfect dose, and eventually conduct very careful human clinical trials.
But this study just opens up such a fascinating possibility. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could the answer to repairing our bodies lie hidden in the very substance that helps build life in the first place? It's a powerful thought and a very hopeful glimpse into what the future of medicine could look like.